Houston. Hey. Oh boy. It's not the point there. This guy.
In 1981, President Ronald Reagan, who was just some glorified celebrity, not a politician, not the traditional person that you would see in DC, right? He decided to fire 11,000 striking air traffic controllers. He had actually been targeting the federal government to reduce the federal workforce as a way to help Americans, but it had a lot of pushback. And it took over 10 years to restore the labor force for these air traffic controllers. And by 1988, he actually had to put together a safety committee among the Federal Aviation Group so that they could figure out how to solve safety issues when it came to aircrafts and flying in airports and such. Today, there was a crash in Washington, D.C. that landed in the Potomac River between a Black Hawk helicopter and a commercial American Airlines flight. They are currently searching for survivors. Prayers to everybody who was involved in this crash. But we also have to look at the fact that on January 21st, that man, 4547, actually went ahead and disbanded that very committee that Ronald Reagan put together in 1988. And I don't think any of this is a coincidence. It needs to be looked into and investigated. And also the way that, like Reagan, he's trying to target the federal workforce to supposedly help the American people, but will very likely end up hurting Americans everywhere, including when it comes to safety regulations, right? I don't think it's a coincidence that this crash happened over Ronald Reagan International Airport, and I don't think that it's a coincidence that it was a Ronald Reagan judicial appointee that actually overturned the birthright citizenship executive order. I find it very interesting that Reagan's ghost is coming back to scream in conservative spaces and say, hey, wait a minute. I think y'all need to take pause and step back because that man is ruining the country. He has no concern for anybody's well-being or safety. And we now have an actual plane crash to show that. In 1981, President Ronald Reagan, who was just some glorified
Welcome to Let It Be Known News. It is tragic. Tragedy strikes over Washington, D.C. I don't know how many of you have been to National Airport, or what is called Reagan National Airport now. I've been there a number of times, and it's not the biggest of airports, but nonetheless, it is a stunning thing that an American Eagle flight, um, 5342, arriving from Wichita, Kansas, crashed into a U.S. Army Black Hawk helicopter. Um, that is stunning. There is, as many experts are saying, a lot has to go exactly wrong, and even when things go uh, really wrong, or go badly, it's still inconceivable that a passenger plane, a commercial airline, would crash into a military helicopter. On board, American figure skaters, coaches, and family members who had been at camp in Wichita, Kansas. Um, and Russian state media did confirm that Russian figure skaters were also on board, as well as coaches. And as of 3 hours ago, at least 12 bodies have been recovered, with reports saying most were found underwater, still strapped into their seats. There is a report, an encouraging report that, and it has not been confirmed, but 4 people of the 64 on board the American Airlines flight were rescued. But meanwhile, even as hundreds of emergency workers are scouring the Potomac River for survivors and recovery efforts, uh, Donald Trump has started the blame game for the incident. Um, he he is saying that he went on. It's just, it gets frustrating. It's not that I'm at a loss for words. It's just frustrating. Here we are, week 2 of this dictatorship, and um, he is saying that pilots of the Army helicopter and the air traffic control of the airport are to blame for the crash. This is what he says: the airplane was on perfect and routine line of approach to the airport. The helicopter was going straight at the airplane for an extended period of time. It is clear the lights on the plane were blazing. Why didn't the helicopter go up or down or turn? Why didn't the control tower tell the helicopter what to do instead of asking if they saw the plane? This is a bad situation that looks like it should have been prevented. Not good, says the dictator. Um, why? And he mentions air traffic control, the very people that you said you're firing, that you've put a freeze on, the very people that you said that are not needed, that you it was spending waste. Um, and here's the thing: this guy went to California, blamed the mayor and the governor and all the Democrats and Biden for the fires. Folks, this is where mainstream media once again fails you, because they are complicit in that too. Where's the outrage at this administration for this plane crash? Where's the outrage? Where is it? I want to know, because the blame game has begun, but nobody. I don't. Where are you, House Speaker Jeffries? Where are you, Schumer? Saying this is Trump's fault. You saw the video that Greer put up beforehand. Where are you? Trixie says, I saw the crash on the Citizens app, and I just feel really bad for the families that they lost their loved ones. And here's the other thing. This is a and so this is a no doubt, no doubt that the pilot of the airplane, no doubt that the pilot of the Black Hawk helicopter were DE&I hires. No doubt. No doubt, right? Because they're probably both white males. Probably both white males. And I say that because most pilots are, number 1. But number 2, The dictator has said nothing about the pilots. His people have said nothing about the pilots. Nothing. Why? Because you know if they were black or Latino. It's D&I's fault. Well, it exactly is that. It's exactly that. Southbound 3000 said it was bound to happen. There have been several close calls with U.S. flights there. Well, Lauren Burke had. Man, let me just quickly pull up her her messages. She's been tweeting us all morning about this as well. Um, and Brian Baez, first before I get to Lauren, um, who posts on X under the um, handle at mentally divine, says, I don't want to hear anything about this not being the time for politics. If Biden were president, news stations would be blaming him right now. 100% at mentally divine, Brian Baez, 100%. But Lauren Burke says that it's never has it been so clear who's to blame. Republicans push for increased flights because business communities wanted it. Virginia Democrats push back hard against increased flights to Reagan National Airport. And she tags a story, a previous story that actually ran on the state-run Fox News from April of 2024, where it says that Virginia senators had urged Congress to nix expansion plans after near misses at Reagan National Airport. So this falls squarely in the laps of MAGA. Barrington text, he says the Republicans are going to be running to hide. The Orange Menace said last night the crash shouldn't have happened. Let the blame game begin. So there you have it. There you have it. And unfortunately, and kudos to Washington Informer managing editor Misha Green, Misha, myself, and Denise Rolock Barnes, the publisher of the Washington Informer, been on a thread all night into the morning, putting the pieces together here. Greer says, I smell a cover up on the horizon. The Informer, of course, is all over this, as they are any big story out of DC. Remember, the only trusted source of news and information comes from Black owned media. You could say, oh, you're biased. A, I am biased, but B, it's the truth. I speak truth. So go to WashingtonInformer.com. I'm sure there will be several updates. In fact, I'm looking forward to joining the Informers uh, meeting later this morning to discuss this, among other things that Misha leads in discussion. But this is a big one, and don't worry about having to uh, be force fed any nonsense. Just go to WashingtonInformer.com. Um, I know that April Ryan, by the way, um, has also been on top of this too, but she is under the weather. So I don't know how much we're going to get out of April over the next couple of days. She was really fighting it yesterday. She's been fighting it for a couple of days apparently, but um, she's on top of this as well. So blackpressusa.com will have some information on this one way or the other, that you can rest assured that it won't be uh, poshed down, or however you say it, the way and watered down as mainstream media, and we will call it the way it is. We will call it the way it is. RNG says, call me biased, but I'm telling the truth. Black owned media tells the truth. Empress says, that's the truth. I love the Empress name. Love that. Um, but we're going to give it to you. I had planned to sleep last night. I planned to sleep, not be on phone calls and texts with Denise and Misha and April. And I know she needed to sleep. all night long. After, of course, I watched the Knicks. I couldn't totally stray away from the Knicks. They were handed it, orangey to the Denver Nuggets. Handed it to 'em. I was like, "Dag on it. Why am I not at the Garden tonight?" My man at the Garden was texting me saying, "Hey, where you at?" I said, "Well, not tonight." But this is something that obviously could have been avoided. And the thing about it is, and several folks I saw, Trixie said she saw the video of this. I saw the video of the crash as well. Um, and it's just horrifying, horrifying. I fly a lot. Every time I hear these crashes, it really, really scares me even more. I hate flying, but I do it a lot. But this was totally avoidable. But this was another example of politics. Politics costing people their lives. And these these poor families. One guy at the airport late last night, early this morning, um, saying his wife was on that flight. He didn't know whether to stay there, go home, pace the floor. I mean, you can only imagine. Yeah, we could have been at the garden last night. We can only imagine. Um, and never want to experience what that man was experiencing last night and then early this morning and will be experiencing for some time. But this is again what happens when dictators take over and start trying to erase everything that including everything that's good. It's okay, I'm sure some of Biden's policies, some of Obama's policies, some of Clinton, Bush, et cetera, policies probably wasn't the best. Some. And it's okay to attack those. But you cannot tell me that every single thing is that bad. And obviously not. Because you remember the air traffic control. Speaking of Reagan, he fired all the air traffic controllers because they went on strike. I hate Boston with a passion as well. Um, I mean, there are this is further proof that once again, you gotta stop. Everything can't be political. You can't make everything political. Now people have lost their lives because of MAGA politics. Southbound says, wonder what Elon thinking now when mentioned he wouldn't fly under black pilots. It doesn't matter. It doesn't matter. I always allude to that great episode of the Jeffersons back in the 70s where George saves the life of a by giving CPR to a Klan member, the head of the Klan, and he saved his life. And the son of that Klan member said, "Thanks, George." But then when the Klan member realizes that George saved his life, he says, "You should have just let me die." Elon would rather die in a plane piloted by a white man than successfully get to his destination by with a black pilot. So that's that. And so much Israel Grace needs to say nothing, but I'm speechless. Israel, listen. This is a major tragedy, and it's sad when you have to say something like this. Um, it's a good thing that this wasn't a full 200, 300 passenger flight, but but the sting is still the same. It just means that less lives were lost. But how many more lives are at stake because of the dictator's policies on freezing government funding and going after unions and going after the air traffic controllers and black pilots and Spanish pilots. Mike V says, it's the lack of professionalism that gets me. Trump is allowed to say the most ridiculous things in front of a microphone, and no journalist calls him out unless you're Jim Acosta. And that's why Trump celebrated Jim Acosta leaving CNN, as if Jim Acosta is not going to surface again. But that is so true. And I watched, we covered Trump in his first term. I was at the White House. I went on the road with Trump on some of his stops while he was president. And of course, we covered the White House, 4 years of Biden, and the response, the journalists that covered these two White Houses, the tone in the briefing room, and April could speak a lot to that too. Of course, the tone in the briefing room is so much different. They allow these people to say. Remember Sarah Huckabee Sanders and that clown show from the first time. Every single time she breathed, there was going to be a lie that followed every breath. And lies about stuff. You ever get on, like, you have kids or nieces or nephews, and they think they got to lie about something, and you're like, what do you lie about that for? Well, it's 90 degrees outside, yet you told me it's snowing. What was the point of that lie? They lie about everything. Unnecessarily stuff. This whole thing with the freeze, they lie about every single thing. And I'm going to talk about Eric Adams in a moment, but I don't know how many caught Senator Bob Menendez was sentenced yesterday to 11 years in prison for corruption. He was caught red-handed. This guy was caught red-handed. He had gold bars in his home that were part of the crime. He had the evidence in the house. Begged for mercy. Then the judge, 11 years, and again, of course, his privilege, the judge sentenced him to 11 years in federal prison. But his wife is on trial too because she's complicit in this as well, according to authorities. Judge says we're going to wait until your wife's trial is over before you have to start. You have to turn yourself in. Wife's trial is supposed to start in 2 months. Meantime, he immediately sent the signal out to Trump that he would be willing to get on his knees, unzip Trump's pants, you know the rest. Um, he said, Donald Trump was right because he was prosecuted by the Southern District, which successfully prosecuted Trump. This was a witch hunt. There's corruption. I hope Trump cleans it all. And then he tied immigration, somehow tied immigration up into that. So he's sending a signal out to Trump for a pardon, saying, I will do anything. Anything. I will degrade myself in any way, form necessary if you would step in here. Now, he's a Democrat. He's a Democrat. It is the longest prison sentence ever handed down to a U.S. senator. Obviously, and prosecutors wanted 15 years. This should show you just how guilty this guy was. Because again, they called him red-handed. This is one of those things where they didn't got to get testimony from here, there, whatever. They got all the evidence on Menendez, and his lawyer said, "Okay, judge, please, we know. Just give him 8 years. Don't give him 11." Right. Now everybody wants to cozy up. They want to cozy up to the dictator. 'Cause I'm a hood. I'm a hood. Houdini. Um, Senior Justice Department officials have reportedly held discussions with federal prosecutors in Manhattan about dropping corruption charges against New York Mayor Eric Adams. Um, j- uh, mm. There's a lot to say there. It's a whole lot to say. Adams has been missing in action, but apparently he's been. Now we know why. He's been going back and forth to Mar-a-Lago and there are folks who saying that he
After every show, I'm a home.
yeah.
You know I'm a home.
Yes, indeed. Exactly. And that fits Menendez and Eric Adams, who was indicted on 5 counts of corruption in September, including bribery, conspiracy, and campaign finance violations. He has pleaded not guilty, of course, and if he's found guilty, he could spend 45 years in prison. And the thing about it is, of course, we know that he's kissed the ring, among other things. He's probably kissed to try and get out of this. And yeah, these innuendos. Listen, I'm only saying what you are thinking and
You
what you
know I'm a
probably know
home.
to be true. Right. It's as disgusting as it is. It's true. This guy, Eric Adams. Oh, all of a sudden, we are no longer New York City is no longer a sanctuary city. All of a sudden, he's meeting with Trump's people. All of a sudden, yes, we got to get rid of the immigrants. All of a sudden, he's turning into Byron Donalds, this former law enforcement officer, this tough guy, turning into Byron Butterbiscuits, bend over Donalds. All of a sudden. Now, granted, folks might say, listen, if you was about to get jail time, you probably would do the same, whatever. I tell you what I would do. So if you ever doing a crime, never do it in my presence. Because I will snitch to keep myself from going to jail. I'm like that dude. Oh my God. I told Austin he's going. If anything happens, I I'm snitching on him. Even though he ain't do nothing wrong. Austin did it. He did it. Yeah, and think about Eric Adams. Right, Greer. Eric Adams, he said nothing, he has done nothing for all of his entire administration just about has been locked up or charged. And it's been totally about Eric Adams. Totally about him. Nah, it's not just Queens. We they do it in Manhattan, Brooklyn, Bronx. Come on. And Staten Island. Staten Island, they might as well change the name Staten Island to Snitch City. Because you know everybody, everything goes down there.
Queens keeps on faking it.
Austin says, "Call me Commander Snitch." He said he gonna turn me and Barrington in.
Come on, son.
Yeah, I know it's the truth. You ain't lying. Shoot. And more horror stories have surfaced with the dictator's mass deportations. Not to mention how he now has bragged that they will start putting people in the inhumane Guantanamo Bay prisons, where they held kids in cages and stuff like that. He says they are for violent criminals. Now, first of all, you can't see the irony in someone who is an adjudicated sex offender, someone who bragged about being able to shoot someone on Fifth Avenue, someone who was convicted 34 felony charges. Well, I mean, it's the irony of it all. And get this. So Colombia, remember that whole thing with Colombia? Colombia, first and foremost, just to set the record straight, and folks, you got to understand again, this is why the black press, we have to tell you the truth. So Trump has made it seem, and his lying press secretary has made it seem that they are going to they are doing something that no one else has done by sending uh, these immigrants in airplanes back to Colombia. Well, the Biden administration turns out sent more than 400 flights full of illegal immigrants back to Colombia. Colombia's problem was that this time was simply the inhumane treatment that the Trump administration um, has heaped upon these immigrants. But they said the Biden administration and previous administrations have not treated these people so cruelly. And the other thing, the Colombia officials said that two of the flights that Trump sent were packed full of innocent people, including two pregnant women and more than 20 children. And then get this, in one particular incident, a toddler, this is this is separate from the Colombia thing. A toddler, the toddler's mother and grandmother were hauled off to an immigration detention center because they were speaking Spanish, simply because they were speaking Spanish, even though you guessed it, they are American citizens. Yes, they are from Puerto Rico. Puerto Rico, Mr. White House man, is a part of the United States. If you're born in Puerto Rico, you're an American citizen. And once at the detention center, an official decided to release them, even as they had previously, before they got that far, they had showed their birth certificates and other forms of ID to the officers when they were illegally arrested. And what's more, they had to pay their own taxi fare back home from a hours-long drive to the detention center. And it's getting worse. Getting worse in Tennessee. Governor Bill Lee's immigration enforcement plan has moved swiftly through the Tennessee legislature. But one component of the bill, which is aimed at arresting local officials who support sanctuary policies for immigrants. They want, if you are crafting any laws, just crafting them, not passing, but suggesting laws that go contrary to Trump's just ship them out deportation policy. They want that to be a Class E felony for public officials who present, vote to adopt or enact such policies. And these policies that they're talking about can shield undocumented immigrants and limit cooperation with enforcement action. They want it to be. Yeah, this is moving through the legislature. Go ahead.
And rip it up, because that's what you're doing. You're creating a very dangerous precedent of attacking the speech and debate clause of the U.S. Constitution. We took an oath just a few weeks ago to vote against any legislation that is injurious to the people and erodes their rights and privileges. You are violating your oath to both the U.S. Constitution and the Tennessee Constitution, and it is shameful what is happening here today. This is serious. We're going after elected officials based on how they vote. Imagine, we've already tried to expel them based on what they say. Now we're going after people for how they vote. This is wrong. It's a violation of everything we stand for. And so we just did the Pledge of Allegiance. That was just, we might as well just take that down now, because this is un-American. This is the root of it. You can say all the other stuff about this bill, but this provision in particular about charging people with a Class E felony based off of, it says here in the law, every elected official in local government who votes in the affirmative shall be charged with a Class E felony. This is what the law says that you have drafted, which the Constitution told you is incorrect, which is unconstitutional, which is going to be constitutionally suspect. And the thing is, it's not just in the U.S. Constitution. Our very own Tennessee Constitution has a very similar provision to this that protects legislators. It says individual legislators are immune from any kind of suit, including criminal prosecutions, for any act deemed as part of the legislative body's deliberative process. This is from the Tennessee State Constitution. Tennessee courts have repeatedly upheld this precedent. And so again, if you want to pass a lawsuit, that's on you. But I hope that we have record of everyone who votes against this, because we want you all to be the first brought before the courts to explain the constitutionality of this, because it is unconstitutional. We have told you this. You're going to vote however you want to vote, because this is not about immigration, because as the chairman said, we don't have any purview over immigration. This is about fear mongering. This is about giving red meat and acting like you're doing something when it's just about people told you about targeting both elected officials and individuals in our districts, because people are afraid that America is changing and becoming more diverse. Well, beloved, let us know that this diversifying of America is not a threat to any of us. It's something that makes this nation great. And if we want to vote on all these provisions, we might as well take down that lady in the harbor that says, "Give me your poor, your tired, your huddled masses." And would you please present to me your grandparents' immigration papers when they came? Because let's check the record of where they came from. Because unless your last name is Cherokee, Choctaw, Shawnee, or Yuchi, you are an immigrant from somewhere in Tennessee. And so again, this is unconstitutional. You've been warned. You're going to do this vote however you want to do it, but it's shameful. And the citizens of Tennessee deserve serious deliberation of people who take our constitutional oath seriously.
We shall not be moved.
We shall not be moved. We're fighting for our futures. We shall not be moved.
Mm, mm. And look, and so, and this is, you can laugh at this or whatever, but this is serious. So Trixie says that she told her husband to be careful and carry his birth certificate because he's a Puerto Rican, and she said she's even thinking of dropping the Reyes part of her last name so they don't confuse her. This is what's going on. This is what's going on. Meanwhile, another hardened January 6th rioter has struck again. Emily Hernandez, who you might remember paraded Nancy Pelosi's broken office sign, has been sentenced to 17 years in prison for a deadly DUI crash. Hernandez was one of the 1,500 plus pardoned by Trump last week. Police said she drove on Interstate 44 for several miles going the wrong way with a blood alcohol level of 0.125. Now, the legal limit is something like 0.01 or something like that. She crashed into another car, killing a woman and severely injuring the woman's husband as they were celebrating their wedding anniversary. I'm not laughing at what I just reported. I'm laughing at what Trixie said. She said she could use a vacation. So, in other words, if ICE takes her husband for a while, she'd be okay. That's terrible. That's terrible. Um, that's terrible. But yes, another January 6th person. And yeah, that's interesting too. Orange says, just wait until the Super Bowl is over. New Orleans will get hit hard by ICE. They'll probably be down there during the Super Bowl seeking this. So terrible. Switching gears a bit, America's worst mayor, so-called Empress says, Trixie, that's not nice. Oh boy. Yeah, she probably means it. um, America's worst mayor, the person known as America's worst mayor. Now that's some title, but when you think about Tiffany Henyard, the mayor of Dalton Village in Illinois, outside of Chicago, and she's also the supervisor of Thornton Township. Well, she got into a fight, her and her boyfriend, with another guy who was speaking at the township meeting. Jedediah Brown, who is a known activist and a frequent critic of the mayor, took to the podium and launched an aggressive tirade at the mayor that ended with him calling her the B word. He accused Henyard of sleeping her way to the top, being a half mayor or whatever, and even suggested she would never get married. This guy went on a tirade. He then asked the room to vote on a measure to place Henyard's boyfriend, Kamal Woods, and her ally, William Moore, on paid administrative leave from the town before ending his comments by saying, "You gone, B word." Well, so part of the problem is her boyfriend and family members on the town's payroll. And we also know that based on the findings of an investigation that was led by Lori Lightfoot, yes, the former Chicago mayor, found that Henyard Tiffany um, apparently used the town's credit cards for getting her hair done and taking expensive trips and meals and things of that nature, buying her boyfriend, some swag, and basically about $5 million is unaccounted for, and most of that is on credit cards. They haven't been able to pay certain bills because of it. And Mike V says, yeah, she probably gonna seek out a pardon from Trump. Trixie says she saw this situation here on Instagram, and she thought she was watching an episode of Baddies. That's how hard. And this is how Tiffany Henyard carries herself. Like she is on episodes. Like every day is an episode of Baddies for her. And this is a township meeting. I never thought I'd see worse uh township or city council meetings than what I saw in Scranton, Pennsylvania some years ago. I used to cover the city there, and the city council meetings were always like the talk of the town. It would be every Thursday night, and it was always some wacky stuff going on there. Never came to blows, but always the wildest, the most interesting news item of the week, no matter what happened in the news.
And quote, our hearts.
Oh gosh.
And
So
Tiffany should have never got involved.
In a statement, the Board of Trustees said they are, quote, deeply saddened and disturbed by the events that took place. And, quote, our hearts go out to the residents who continue to witness such turmoil.
This is Mayor Tiffany A. Henyard, the people's mayor.
It's just the latest in a long saga of public scrutiny for Henyard, who is also the mayor of the Chicago suburb of Dalton and Thornton Township supervisor. She's been accused by other village officials of misusing public funds on everything from a lavish one-day community event to billboards of herself. Under her leadership, the Village of Dalton's general day-to-day operating fund was $3.6 million in debt. That's according to an independent investigation commissioned by the village. Henyard denying those claims for months, and even vetoing a measure to investigate her last year, which was eventually overwritten.
We'll be victorious when all the dust clear. You see, mark my word.
But one day before the brawl, former Chicago Mayor Lori Lightfoot, who was tapped to lead the investigation into possible mismanagement of Dalton's funds, released her final summary. Some key findings, including $170,000 in travel-related costs, which Lightfoot said produced no business opportunities, $51,000 spent at area restaurants, and more than $218,000 for Amazon purchases made with village credit cards.
I'm happy that the report is out so that the residents finally know some of the truth.
Regarding the brawl or Lightfoot summary, Henyard did not immediately respond to NBC News' request for comment. She has previously said the financial accusations are political retaliation and has threatened legal action. But tonight, as she makes headlines once again and goes viral for fighting, there are renewed concerns about her leadership.
Okay, Adrian Broadus joins us tonight live from Chicago. So, Adrian,
The thing is, first of all, I think we are the only people, Black folks, maybe Latinos, I don't know, but I know Black folks are perhaps the only people. Somebody can correct me if I'm wrong. I don't mind being corrected. But I feel like we're the only people who, when we see a black person do something as off the chain as that, we like, oh, why she have to be black? Somebody commit, we hear something horrific in the news. I hope they're not black. And now we understand why we feel that way even more, right? Because of what's going on in this country. And the thing is with these politicians, black politicians, you can't do what they do. Mike, Mike V, um, actually from your end, 30 people, that is great. But we have a whole lot more watching, and we want them to do what you said, and hit the like button, the share button. We definitely appreciate you, Mike V. Um, but Tiffany Henyard, they have to realize, black politicians, you can't do what they do. You just can't. It's been proven time and a time and a time again. You can't do what they do. I mean, look, right there next door in Chicago, how many black politicians have gotten into trouble? I mean, heck, Jesse Jackson Jr. went to prison, among others. So you just can't. But here's the other part of it. She has become such a disgrace. And I'm all for people not especially in those positions, not automatically stepping down, because at some point she's going to be charged, and she's going to need the leverage of that office in any plea negotiations. But boy, oh boy, does she need to get out of the public eye. She needs to be totally out of the public spotlight. She is an embarrassment. She's a disgrace. And that those people in Chicago, in Dalton, specifically in Thornton Township, they have to every day they have to just take a deep breath, knowing that she is walking around and flaunting in their faces what she's done to them. Textbook narcissist, Mike B said. Yeah, it's just horrible. It is absolutely disgusting. And you hate to see, we are a champion on this program in the Black Press period of Black women. And so it's hard. It's even harder for us when we see uh, a Black woman go down this path. Just disgusting. We're still trying to figure out. Um, uh, we're still trying to figure out what the White House is doing with this freeze. They was ordered to rescind the freeze. They said we rescinded. They said we rescinded the memo, not the freeze. How do you rescind a memo? Some of them said the free they had to back off the freeze, and the press secretary said, "Oh, it's just a memo." That's the stupidest statement ever. You wrote a piece of paper that there's a freeze, and you're saying that we rescinded the memo and not the freeze, while others are saying no, the freeze is over. It is incompetence at its finest. It's total incompetence. And this is it's even more dangerous because um a combination of having a dictator and being incompetent is deadly. I mean, look, nobody ever accused Idi Amin and Saddam Hussein and Muammar Gaddafi of being incompetent. So, it's just And Mike B says they hit recall button on Gmail. It's just ridiculous. Um, but anyway, the assault on minorities continue. The outward look, it's in your face now. Um, it's in your face. The White House press secretary simply lied to the public during the first press briefing of the dictatorship because now a memo, as you see there, has been leaked that revealed that the Trump administration plans to get rid of or at least completely ignore Black History Month, Women's History Month, Juneteenth, Martin Luther King Jr. Day, Women's Equality Day, Pride Month, Asian American Pacific Islander Heritage Month, Holocaust Day, Days of Remembrance, National Hispanic Heritage Month, National Disability Awareness Month, and National American Indian Heritage Month, among other things. Among other things. And so the idea, you know, eh, to try and shield or at least try and play the game. Oh, yeah, no, that I don't. Give me a break. We are seeing it in full Project 2025 form. And what we also are seeing, I wrote an article on Black Press. It's on Black Press USA today, blackpressusa.com. It's on today about how Hakeem Jeffries and Democratic leadership is really Democrats in general are betraying not just their constituents, but people like Jasmine Crockett and Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez. They are betraying them because AOC and Jasmine are the only ones speaking out. And I wrote an article about the silence, but also, folks, and you guys have asked this question, where's the Black conservatives, the Byron Donalds and the Tim Scotts of the world and the others? Where are they? Where are they? They have, we know Tim Scott and Byron Donalds and people like that, and Raynard Jacksons. They've all, they have been given their little spots, as butlers and chauffeurs, and they don't want to be out in the field with the rest. But where, where is the outrage from the CBC? No one's speaking up. No one is speaking up at all. No one is showing any outrage at all. Right, Michelle Hamilton. That's what I'm saying. Read the article, blackpressusa.com. Democrats silent. Michelle Hamilton, Black Caucus. And they'll be quick to say, oh, the Black press needs to do this and make sure people know what the Black Caucus does and do something for us to let people know. Do something. I know a lot of people are going to be mad about me saying that. Even some in-house are going to be mad. But folks are tired of the complicity. You're complicit. I always remember that a prominent member of the CBC told me about 10 years ago that it's great to have the CBC, but don't ever be surprised that quietly, because of the money that changes hands, they're just as bad as MAGA at times. And they have not proven this particular person wrong. They have not yet. There's a couple of them, like we said, Jasmine Crockett, AOC. Yeah, of course, Maxine Waters is Maxine Waters. She's gonna tell it like it is, regardless. But you gotta wonder, and I hate to think that a Hakeem Jeffries is in that category. I know Lauren attended their press conference, was it yesterday or the day before? And she said they said absolutely nothing. It was just a waste. Nothing. Shailara says those not speaking are profiting from this administration in one way or the other. And that's the conclusion that you can't help but to draw. You can't help but to draw that conclusion. They have to show us otherwise. They can be mad all they want. They could be we can't shield for you either. We can't be your mouthpiece either. Just as much as we can't shield for the president and his we can't do it for you. Show us something. Yeah, it's the same thing applies. If Trump was to fall down, hit his head, have a concussion, recover, but loses the hateful side of his memory and start doing some good stuff, we got to report that. We got to report the good stuff. If you, CBC, show some fight, show some fire, show some life, we got to report that. But this idea of, oh, I'm introducing this bill that has zero shot of advancing, let alone passing, and you want ink for that, you want press for that. That's really what it amounts to for many of them. Get a whole box full of press releases. I'm going to introduce bills have no chance of advancing, no chance of what just to say you did it. It's perfunctory. And so I'm supposed to report it. That's this do something. Now Lauren says that she understands that there's supposed to be this big day of I forget what she called it, but it's a major day of a protest or whatever that the CBC apparently is involved in or going to be involved in. Be interesting to see how many really will be involved. But I don't see any information on that. We'll report that. If you're taking if you're gonna take a stand, we're gonna report it. But this idea of you guys just sitting back collecting a government check and doing nothing as folks are being their lives are being turned upside down, inside out. Folks who look up to you, folks who depend upon you. And just like this, I mean, and it's in my article. This Professor Hassan Jeffries says on X, Twitter, he, y'all saying what? He's a Democrat. Y'all saying what the Democrats ain't doing. It's what y'all didn't do. Y'all didn't vote for Kamala Harris. That's nonsense. What? Once again, it's because a lot of those folks did vote for her. They did exactly what you asked them. And their only question now is, what are you doing to try and protect or at least help us now? It's the dumbest statement from a professor. Yes, because collecting a government check, as Greer says, is all we know that they are doing. We don't know anything else. And I know, like I said, many are not going to like that. Many are not. I know Dr. Chavis probably don't say that, Stacy. I don't like that, but it's the truth. Doc knows it's the truth. We all know. Listen, it's right there in our face. CBC, stand up. Stand up. This is the bottom line. Mike V says no one knows what to do after shock and awe. Trump has exposed everyone for who they really are. And that really is the bottom line. So we talk about others who are openly running scared. You guys are somehow hiding somewhere in a closet scared. That's all we see. Now, I'd be more than happy to come on this program to write an article saying, "Oh, I was totally wrong." Be more than happy to. But before that happens, prove me wrong. Prove me wrong. Even when they had the even when they had the majority, point to something tangible, and that's the problem that you have done to better the lives specifically of black and brown people. Show me the money, right? Because to me, this is why you have so much apathy. This is why you have people saying and doing whatever, saying, "Hey, you guys mean nothing to us." So what? So it's it's time to take accountability, and it'd be very refreshing for the CBC to stand up and say, Some of this is our fault." Not all of it, but some of it is. Some of it really is. Folks, before we go, people are watching from various different platforms, and we really appreciate that. Um, we really encourage to watch from our Let It Be Known YouTube page. To subscribe there, even if you're not watching, at least subscribe. Give us a subscription. It doesn't cost anything. Um, we are streamlining, and you're soon only going to find us on Let It Be Known's YouTube page. So please subscribe there. And as Mike V says every morning, and again, we appreciate him, hit the like button, hit the share button, but subscribe. Tomorrow, Alphonso David, the president and CEO of the Global Black Economic Forum, has a lot to say about the fight to ensure freedom and fairness under the law. So check us out tomorrow, and also a very interesting discussion that we're going to have too about cardiovascular disease. So these are very timely, very needed discussions for our community. So join Let It Be Known tomorrow. And Empress and Trixie's both said that they subscribe. We appreciate it. We appreciate all of you. Have a great Thursday. We'll see you tomorrow.